So I've been doing a lot of thinking recently, and I think this is about the downfall of the Western world and why it's happening and what is happening. And so I've recently left Australia. Currently, well, have a guess where I am. I mean, I mentioned it in a previous post. I'm actually in New Zealand. I didn't come here to move or anything. I've actually come to say goodbye to some family, but it's certainly, shown me a lot of similarities as to what's going on in Australia, but also what's going on everywhere. We're all asking ourselves the same question. What is happening? Why is everything becoming so expensive? Why is everything, it seems like it's falling apart or part of some doomsday movie? Look, maybe for some of you, maybe you're having a great life. Maybe for some of you, you're really prospering. Maybe for a lot of you, you're not. In my previous videos, a lot of people mentioned New Zealand is having the same problems as Australia. I've talked to a few people while I'm here and I can see that firsthand, but this video isn't about New Zealand, it's about the world. And I've been really doing a lot of research, a lot of deep diving, and a lot of contemplating on when and what has changed. One of the things that came out recently was that we had set the Doomsday Clock from 89 seconds to midnight. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically, the closer we get to midnight, the closer that humanity gets to extinction from ourselves, from some kind of global threat or nuclear threat. That's what it was initially created for. So that is a little scary. It might be just fear-mongering, but it's more just a representation of the current state of the world. But it really got me thinking and looking back at the data and at that doomsday clock. And also thinking back to when I was really having a great time. When I had no worries in the world, when I wasn't being bothered by the news, when I wasn't being bothered by all this stuff that we see on social media or on YouTube. And also when life, didn't really seem to have any problems, when most people were happy. Don't get me wrong, we've come a long way in building better equality for different people, but we've also gone another direction where just the average person is becoming poorer. It's getting harder for someone to be able to buy a house, especially now. Like if you've got into the market before COVID, that's a different story. While I do think the governments of the world have a huge amount of blame to put on them, whether that came from them thinking that they were making the right decisions, I think we can all agree the world really started to go majorly downhill during and after COVID. I think we can especially relate to that in Australia and New Zealand because we had the two harshest lockdowns in the world, and we're so far away, removed from the rest of the world, that we couldn't even go anywhere, open up any sort of trading. We just pretty much grinded to a halt. And the government just forked out all this money, thinking that they were maybe doing a good thing, but in fact, they just obliterated the economy. Any small chance, things were going down way before then, but any small chance that modern generations had of owning a home, if that's what you want to have, is now gone. Yeah, you can still buy a house if you can find one, but I think we all know that they've gone up 20, 30, 40% in the last 2 years. Comparative to what we're earning, it's, if you actually look at the interest rates, if you wanted to buy something that, say, like my parents' generation had originally bought back in the 80s, you'd be looking at something around $2 million. But back then they weren't paying $2 million, they were paying like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. That could be paid off in 5 to 8 years with a mortgage. Now, with a mortgage, you're looking at 30 to 60 to 80 years, depending on if you wanted a $2 million property and you are earning, say, $100,000, that would actually take you more than 80 years. But I'm going off track here. The biggest downfall is actually things like this, things like what we're watching now, or things that we have in our pocket every day. I don't necessarily blame computers. Computers have been really handy. The internet has also been very handy. We've been able to connect to the world. We've been able to share ideas like I'm sharing now. I wouldn't be able to release this video without the internet. But does it come at a cost? So it got me thinking, was it the internet? Was it computers? Or was it social media? Or a mix of all three? When we look at this doomsday clock, or just when we look at the past, people's jobs have slowly been getting, either easier with technology, or we're replacing us with technology. And now, who are the richest people in the world? We have Mark Zuckerberg's, right, who run Facebook. We have Elon Musk's that run Tesla and many other companies. He bought Twitter, which is now X. And then we have people like Jeff Bezos who run Amazon. And then of course we have people like Bill Gates, who started Microsoft. Now these people combined probably have more wealth than 99% of the world. That's just a few people. There are others, like the inventors of Google, the people who started Spotify, and all these other tech moguls. And essentially what they've done is they've just created ways to make themselves richer and put many of us out of jobs. The development of AI, while it has been extremely handy, and a lot of very intelligent people have shared their concerns about how this could be a major problem in the future. Even if you go to your local supermarket, you'll notice there's less people behind the checkout. You go to Kmart and there's less people behind the checkout. Most of the time these days we just have almost a security person just making sure that the machines are running fine. Now for an example, back in the day when we used to have print media, they would have thousands of people working at these factories. And when it came to printing newspapers, they would actually put like individual block letters on these machines that would then like print onto this paper, these giant paper rolls and so on and so on, and we'd pump out these newspapers. And slowly, that industry and many other industries became defunct. We replaced them with printers, and we found ways just to keep using machines to get rid of more and more people. And when you think about who runs these companies, they're just the billionaires. So these billionaires are just getting richer and richer, replacing us. I mean, look at Amazon factories. They are like essentially conveyor belts and giant factories of computers. While they do have some people, I mean, now they're even implementing drones to do them for deliveries, who are cutting out the delivery people. Now, while that may not be in all countries, it's happening everywhere. Just look around. Like, think about all the tasks that you could do now that you couldn't do before. With coding, I can use ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever it may be, and I can code an entire website. I can build an app. In fact, just for a bit of fun, I built 5 websites just in the last 2 weeks on all different types of things just to challenge myself. And they all turned out quite amazingly. I didn't have much experience in coding, in writing HTML and writing JavaScript or CSS with my tablet or with my computer. Easily create professional SEO optimized websites. And now I can use GPT or image generation programs to create all the images where before they would be done by graphic designers or artists. And now we're taking away their jobs. And then we have platforms like Spotify that are decimating the music industry. It's taking away the radio, and Netflix is taking away television. And while it might be convenient for some, we're just replacing all these jobs. Look at all the people that own these companies. And most of these billionaires are American. And well, look at what's happening to America. Now, when it comes to politics, yeah, like we've had some really average I'm trying not to swear, politicians. And no matter who you vote, the left or the right, you're still getting the same result. Nothing is getting better. Nothing has got better for almost 40 years now.
We're trying to get a read on how people will be voting in the upcoming presidential election.
Oh, okay.
Great, and will you be voting for the giant douche or the turd sandwich?
Well, this is usually a giant douche household, but we are going firmly with the turd sandwich. Wait, I forgot what I was saying. Ha! What a douche. All right, turd sandwich. This next question is for you.
Now, yes, we could vote in some other parties, but is that going to change all these billionaires and what they've done to, create less jobs? Are they really going to be able to fix it? They did stuff up the country by locking us down and destroying whatever little hope we had left. But are we doomed to fail? Now, I would hope that something is going to change. Maybe there's going to be a revolution. But we can be entrepreneurial in ways. It's still, because we have things like the internet, now your average person can do 10 people's jobs. But that is also the other problem, that any other average person can do 10 people's jobs. It's only a matter of time before most of you or someone else figures out how to do your job, and a lot better. But then it's almost a different amount of time before, a robot figures out how to do your job. When you go actually to many third world countries, they're not relying so much on AI or computers or tech. While they do have that, they're kind of still a few years back. People are doing these things manually. People are still hand making clothes, and people are still living these more simplistic lifestyles. Is it the West falling apart, or is it the entire world? And how are we going to fix it? Some people say AI is going to revolutionize the world, or maybe it will. And there's all this talk of putting us on some sort of global, financial payment where we just let computers run the world, but it's just going to turn into Terminator. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news and say, wow, we're all doomed. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to adapt, or maybe it is the downfall of society, of the Western world. But it's dividing the people, and we have certain politicians putting in agendas to try and divide the community more because we will get their vote, thinking that they're going to make a difference. But just step back and look at the big picture. Are these phones giving us anxiety? Is all this social media giving us anxiety? Are videos like this giving us anxiety about the state of the world? Or is it just a reality that we're living in? So I have chosen not to conform to this reality. I don't want a giant mortgage. I don't want to be working at some job that I might not even have in 2 years to pay off this home that the government owns for the next 30 or 40 years, because I'm gonna be dead by then. So for the moment, I just want to enjoy my life. Now, while I'm enjoying that life, I'm still working. I am using computers. Maybe I am part of the problem, and I am working online and doing tasks. And actually, one of the things I am working on is training AI. And this is actually why I firsthand know that we have such a problem with it. Don't you miss those days when phones were first invented? And obviously, this message is aimed at people born in the early 80s. You had a phone that could only send a text. It couldn't go on the internet. You would tell your friend, or maybe this was the time when we even had payphones. Don't you miss those days when we had payphones? And you would call up a friend, or you'd call up your friend from the landline. You'd say, hey, I'm gonna be at this park, or I'm gonna be at this train station, or I'm gonna be at this part of the city, and let's go meet and go skateboarding or something. You would say, all right, let's meet at 12 o'clock. And they would meet at 12 o'clock. You wouldn't get some message, because you couldn't message them, saying, oh, sorry, I'm gonna be late because of some excuse they've made up, or I've changed my mind. 9 out of 10 times, or probably more, they would just be there on time, no excuses. And it's almost like now the technology, it's so easy to make an excuse to cancel on someone. Look at dating apps, for example. I mean, that's a sad state of affairs. It's so easy just to swipe the next person. It's so easy to press block. It's so easy to just ignore people. So with all saying that, are these things the downfall of society? Is it the phones? Is it social media? Is it the internet? Or is it AI? Or is it a combination of all both? Now, recently I'd taken a little hiatus off trying to be online. I haven't posted a video in 8 or 9 days now. And I've been trying to do a bit of a detox, stay off my phone, live in the present as much as possible. Now, I do have to do these things for my work. I do have to be online, which is sad. I can't control it. But it does make me wonder, is it this? That's the downfall of society. And when I'm holding this is just symbolic, because I mean, this phone is like a computer in my hand. Not only does it send messages, but I can do work on this phone. I can take pictures on this phone. I can use ChatGPT on this phone. I can build websites on this phone. I can use apps to make images, AI generated things. I can even use Suno to write me songs. We now have a little device in our pocket that has taken over so many people's jobs. I mean, now we use these to pay for everything. But what happens when the internet goes out? What happens when the power goes out? But most importantly, how do we fix this? Are we just creating a self-fulfilling prophecy? So on that note, I'll be back. But I'm also going to show you some positive things. Now, we don't always have to succumb to the doom and gloom. We can turn our phones off. We can choose to not look at the news. It's not going to make things any better, but I think most of us, it's out of our control. We can choose, if we want, to live our best lives, and I've chosen to make some changes. And in my next video, I want to talk to you about why sometimes running away from things might not always be the right answer, but it depends what you're running away from, or maybe you're just running towards a new experience. Getting deep here. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.